Hello and welcome everybody to the Google Digital Garage. Today we will be doing build a CV and write a cover letter. Hopefully you are ready to learn, hopefully ready here to listen to some hints, tips, ideas, and basically push your CV and cover letter to another level forward. Throughout today's session, there's going to be myself, Joe Caleb Muldoon. I've been working on this project now for, I think, well over 5 years. Done quite a lot of CV and cover letter work in the job centres, actually, and people coming into the Google Digital Garage in Manchester. So I will try and drop my knowledge onto today's session. Additionally, there's going to be 3 separate points throughout today's session where you can ask questions. These can be based around anything around build a CV and cover letter, maybe some rough advice around maybe content that you might want to put in there. If it's not covered in today's session, if it's not covered in that section of the slides, or even if it is, please ask that question. If you need a little bit more detail, again, please ask that question. And that will be passed on to Tessa, who is today's moderator. She's been working on the project now for about a year and a bit, I believe. She's been great so far, another Google Digital Garage trainer. And she'll pass on those questions to myself and I'll be able to answer those questions for you. So the first thing I'd love you to do is just say hi in the chat, introduce maybe where you're from, even put in possibly jobs that you're applying for. And what I'll try and do then is tweak today's session up to sort of match examples or key content around jobs that you're actually applying for, rather than just doing it off the generic content. Before we get into today, one thing to bear in mind is it's broke up today into 3 separate sessions. We've got build your CV, write a cover letter, and getting job ready for your job search. So this is how we're going to break up today's session. So do feel free. At the end of each of these sessions, there's going to be a question section where you can ask questions. But remember, you can ask questions throughout any part of it. And essentially, we're just going to deep dive into each of these 3 sections to give you the best possible knowledge to be able to do this. So thank you so much. We've got a few people, Sana, Lucy, Canoe. I apologize if that's not remotely how you pronounce your name. Thank you for introducing yourself. We've got everybody from the UK, we've got India, Pakistan. Great to get involved. Hopefully you'll take a lot from today's session. So let's kick into today's session. One thing to bear in mind, though, before we kick into today's session, is if you are looking to improve your job ready skill set. So one of the things that Google has found is that there is definite skill gaps in digital, and there's definite skill gaps in what people class as sort of requirements for jobs. So essentially, one of the amazing things to think about here is Google's career certificates are essentially available for job seekers based in the UK. It's an amazing combination. You'll find webinars, what we are doing. There's also webinars for that. There's free flexible training programs on everything which they've deemed as high demand career jobs. So, for example, IT support, project management, data analytics, UX design. These are all massive potential for you to stretch outside of your comfort zone, push yourself into a different area, and hopefully reach for the stars. So if you do go to goo.gul/career cert UK, and this is an amazing opportunity basically for anybody who's essentially trying to upgrade their skills and use the Google career certification section of the Google website. So do have a look. Could you up your skills to get job ready and get more skill sets under your CV? So the first thing I'm going to ask here is, can you comment? Can you put what exactly are your career aspirations? Just a really quick idea, just to get people going, just to get people interacting here. What area is it that you actually want to get into? And then once we've got these, we can then, as I say, start to use these as a bit of examples. So what we're going to do today is we're going to break down how to build your CV. We're going to have a look at some templates. We're going to have a look at some examples, and we're going to hopefully give you some sort of like construct and some knowledge around how you can create your CV. Sort of basic examples, basic rules to follow to keep a CV as condensed as possible. So in the chat, if you could write down the following. So what do you think is the primary purpose of a CV? So we got digital marketing, good to hear. This is definitely the place to be if you're doing digital marketing. If you want to expand some of your knowledge in digital marketing, do have a look at the rest of the Google Digital Garage webinars. We've got writing for social media, strategy for social media, I think build digital marketing plan. We've got YouTube for brand, a Google Maps one, how to find your, I think it's how to find your business in Google Maps possibly. So do have a look at that. These are other opportunities for you to expand your knowledge. And what have you got? Outstanding crowd view. Yeah. So basically, what we want to hear is basically, what do you think a CV is for? A lot of people stereotypically think a CV is for just getting your name in front of someone, putting your basic information in there. But the whole purpose of this is to put your best foot forward, is to demonstrate your skill set. One of the coolest things I found about this since delivering this course many moons ago is that CV stands for curriculum vitae, which essentially is Latin for the course of your life. So essentially a CV is a on paper, on digital paper, course of your life. What have you done with your life? What have you achieved professionally, education? What things have stood out? What things can you put forward to be an exemplar of what it is that you've done to get to the point that you're at? And it's about thinking about these and how to line them up and how to describe them, how to basically elaborate on what your short-term description of your education, your qualifications, your previous experience. And a lot of people say, well, for example, is volunteer work relevant? Again, yes, it is. So we're going to go through this today in today's webinar. So this is the first contact with an employer. And this means that we need to consider lots of things. So first of all, it's a summary of experience. This is not a war and peace. This is a summary of your experience. You want to keep this condensed. You've got to think that only 2% of candidates will actually make it to the interview stage, which means if you've got 100 people applying, which is very feasible in today's current job climate, that means 2 people may make it there. So straight away, you have to consider that if this is your first contact, you want to make sure this is on point every time. So it's got to be goal orientated and relevant. So you've spent time looking at that job description. You've spent time matching up your CV to make sure it is, and authentic and honest. And you might think, well, this is obvious, but it's not. I've heard of multiple situations where people have told white lies that have bit them in the backside later on. For example, I think there was somebody in a very high corporate job I read in the news about 5 years ago, and they were there for 25, 35 years, and they did a bit of an audit and asked for some certifications and stuff and found out that he lied about his English C. And he literally got removed from his job the day they found out. And the contract, when you are supposed to have signed this to the best of your knowledge and honest knowledge, and he didn't, and he knew that. So straight away, it's actually authentic and honest is a massive part of this. So don't feel that a little bend of a truth here, a little bend of the truth there with your qualifications is good. By all means, when you're talking about stuff, you can give your best foot forward. You can show examples of things that you've done that are the pinnacle of what you've done. And you can show those best things in your examples of maybe your job description and job tasks that you've done. But please bear in mind that it has to be honest. So what information should you include on a CV? There's a really simple way of breaking this down. The first one is your basic information. And we're going to go this in a minute, just your name, your information that you would need to give to actually get them to contact you. There's going to be an opening summary, work experience, education and achievements, skills and strengths. So let's go into the first one. Basic information, name, address or location, contact information or other important information. And remember, you don't have to give full-on details information. So for example, when I was a trainer in Manchester with a digital garage at the Manchester store, I think I only put Manchester as my location because I didn't know my house number. Later on, they're going to need that anyway. But just consider that some jobs will need more information than others. So, for example, they don't need to know that I have a driving license. But if I'm applying for a job as a taxi driver, maybe include that information. So just make sure the only thing you really need to do in this section is spell check everything, get somebody else to read it, and please check the email address and the phone number, even if you think it is totally correct. The reason I say this is from a precautionary tale where a lady once came in, spent about 4 hours going through the different in-person, not webinars, what's the equivalent now? I don't know what they are. Lectures, we'll say for now, in the Google Digital Garage, and then did about 6 hours worth of mentoring over a few weeks. We made her a CV, bashed them all out to different places. She came in and said, I've had no responses. And I was like, well, did you check everything that you've done? And she was like, yeah, we did do. So we rang the phone number, sent an email to the email address, and I think she put at Hotmail rather than at Gmail, and the phone number had 1 digit out, which meant all that hard work, although it wasn't for nothing because we have a CV, potentially was for nothing because she's handed it out to all the shops and they may have got hold of her or not, but we do not know. So on this section, just please double check the credentials, double check the details, and just make sure that everything is as accurate as it can be. The next is your opening summary. So this is 2 or 3 sentences that works as an elevator pitch. If you don't know what an elevator pitch is, imagine you've gone from the ground floor to, say, the 2nd floor. You're in the lift with Richard Branson or Theo Prophetis or Deborah Meaden or anyone that you can think of who's maybe an entrepreneur or maybe even just a friend who's hiring. Between the time that you've started in the lift and you've said hello to the time those lift doors open and say, thank you for your time, you have to have given them the best pitch of your life. And the reason it's called an elevator pitch is because it's condensed. It's straight to the point. The last thing you want to do in that opening sentence is tell a synopsis of War and Peace. You want to be able to literally go, this is who I am. This is what I'm hoping to achieve. This is why I'm applying for this. This is what I'm about. Boom. In a short, condensed elevator pitch. It's about putting your best foot forward and giving an exact amount of information you can as quick as possible. A really good example of this could be, I am recently graduated of, I'm a recent graduate of economics looking for an analyst role. I have experience working efficiently with teams and leading projects, delivering engaging presentations and networking with others. I have completed 2 internships, which helped me to develop my analytical skills, and have also volunteered as a treasurer for my local community centre for the past 2 years. I'm passionate about finance and helping people to look after their money. So what's great about that is a quick introduction of their background. They've then dropped into what experience they have got, cheeky little bit of volunteer work, always good to hear, and a little bit which is authentic about them. I am passionate about finance and helping people to look after their money. So it's got a little bit of flavor about them, a little bit of personality. It shows the goodwill. It shows they're willing to do volunteer work. It shows they're willing to put in the hours to get there. And it shows their history, just in a very condensed sentence. So if you're going up in the elevator, boom, that's the information. Is that person relevant? Here's my card. Give me a call. So straight away, spend that little bit of time developing that brief, just writing it down, condensing it so that it's quick, easy to read, no spelling mistakes, 1 or 2 sentences, possibly 3 if they're a bit shorter, but it gives you a really good example. Work experience. So one of the things we have to consider here is you've got to keep this condensed. The first thing I'm going to mention is a second point. I would recommend laying this out so it is literally your company that you work for, the job title, and the dates that you work there. If you work there for multiple years, don't feel that you have to put from the 1st of January 2015 till the 4th of January 2021. You could literally just, in that situation, just put 15-21, and you've worked there for 6 years. If they want more information about that job, they may ask for that, but it means you're keeping that as condensed as possible, which then means you've not put your job title, the full length of time that you were there, which takes up that much space, which goes to the next line. You want to keep that condensed and your most recent job at the top. Then once you've done that, your key projects and results. One of the ways I found of doing this, and again, a precautionary tale, when I was working the Google Digital Garage, we had a lady come in who was working for a local sort of like burger restaurant, which was very tasty, by the way. And she came in saying she wants to change her career. She wants to go into management like she was, but somewhere else. So she was looking at some big coffee chain, shall we say. And she started working there. And when she started working there, she quite quickly pulled on a few roles, kept going into the garage to get some advice, worked there for about a year because we were open for 18 months. And then when we redid a CV after that experience, she came in and said, well, I've done some training, I've done some management, and I've done some timekeeping. I was, oh, brilliant. Let's have a look at your CV. And she literally had, I've trained a few members, trained the Manchester store, the core Manchester Spinningfields coffee shop, we'll say. And I was like, right, well, did you just do that or did you do anything else? Well, I created the training program and then I also trained the other stores in Manchester. I was like, so you've not just done the one store. And then what else did you do? Well, I then used those results and it actually improved waste by 3%, which then improved profit by 2.7%. And I was like, so your training has done that? And he was like, yeah. But all she had on her CV, because she didn't do this with key projects, was train people. So a way around this, and I personally would recommend this, is your job, write it in the middle, your job title, then around that in a bit of a spider diagram or whatever you want to call it, then write down all of your key roles that you did within that job. If it was management, if it was timekeeping, if it was the books, if it was finances, just absolutely dump your brain onto that page. There could be 5, there could be 10, there could be 20. Once you've done that, then put little lines around those circles and write what are your sub job roles that you did within that. Now you've started to dig deep into what these job roles you actually did. And then when you're looking at the job description, you can probably see similarities between some of the job description and the things that you've done. And although it's just saying put your most recent ones at the top and your job roles, if you can make your CV unique to the job that you're going for by using that little tool, then you can start to make condensed, efficient use of your CV. So, for example, the training one, we condensed all that information down into, created a bespoke training program and trained 26 members of the Manchester stores, and increased profits by 2.7% and waste by 3%. That was an amazing little sentence compared to trained a few people. But that's what you've got to do. You've got to break down what you've done, pull out the key projects, result orientated, rather than just saying, I trained a few people. I trained a few people. I made it up myself. This was the results of it. Bang. That's literally like a home run, because you've got exactly what you want them to take away from that, which is, I made this myself. It made an impact on profits. What? And I trained 26 members of staff across the Manchester branches. That's literally your bespoke employee. That's you want someone to be able to do this. And now when it's talking about training, there's an example of someone who can do some training. So start to think about how you can make a condensed sentence, including the key points that are potentially in the job description. When it comes to volunteer work, again, what is it that you've done? In this one, we're talking about finance. We talked about how they've done it for 2 years. Volunteer work is as good, if not better, than paid work, because you don't get paid, which means you've got to be a certain type of person. So if you haven't already, have a look in your local area, find things that are interested in. I did over 10 years of volunteer work at a youth club, which made me deal with parents, made me have to talk in front of kids, made me have to talk in front of schools, in front of parents at the schools. And it removed these boundaries. One of the reasons probably I'm here today delivering this presentation, because this doesn't faze me. And when I deliver this in front of 120 people, it does not faze me. But this is what volunteer work does. So please find volunteer work that's relevant to your field. If you're moving into a new area, if you're moving into a new, say, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a new career, find what is that's missing on your CV when you go through all those job descriptions and find ways of filling that void. And then bring this all together in a nice condensed work experience section. When it comes to education and achievement, again, most recent at the top, academic qualifications. Like before, it could be, for example, for myself, MMU, computer science degree, grade 2-1 BSc for Bachelors of Science. That's all it needs. Unless you are going into something that needs maybe the units. So, for example, one of my units was neural networks. If I was going to a computer science role, then it might be worth just adding that in there. But if you're just going into a job that just says you require a degree, A to C in math, science, and English, then you literally just need to put what they want to see. It would be the degree at the top. It would be GCSEs. So it would be BTH for me. 11 GCSEs, and then unfortunately 3 grade A to C English, science, maths. The rest I got D's in. Resat a year, and the rest was history. But what you've got to think about here is I've given them what they need. I don't then have to put the primary school, the nursery. Literally, you're probably talking degree level, college, secondary school. Below that is most likely irrelevant, unless they're asking for it for some strange, unique reason. But keep that condensed. If you've got professional qualifications, maybe you've done outside of university, if you've done courses, if you've done night school, obviously, please include them. And if you have gone to that level of key research or key projects, maybe you've done for work or maybe you've done for education, please do include this in here. This is your moment to demonstrate what could be the difference between you and that next person. Where they played FIFA for one summer, you did an internship. when they played Mario Kart for one summer, you did a 6 weeks volunteer work in Uganda building schools and helping with the financing their project. All of a sudden, that is a big difference between those two people. And if you can show this regularly, it stands you out in front of the crowd. So skills and strengths. When we're having a look at about this, first of all, we have to understand what are the differences. So skills is something that you can create. So for example, a strength is not necessarily HTML code. You're not born with HTML code in your blood, as much as the Matrix might make you believe it. But skills is something that you can develop. So when you're looking at your CV, when you're looking at your job description, remember, you've got to look through all of these different job descriptions to find out, well, what sort of career, what do you want to do? Look through that and find the skills that are regularly asking for, like Office, they're always going to ask for. If you're not very good at Office, go online, go onto udemy.com, go onto YouTube, Google free courses for Office. Or if you've got the money and you want to maybe get a bit better content, often a paid course might do it. But for now, do some free courses, up your knowledge. So you can then say expert level, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, or expert level in Office. Like, for example, I've done it for years. I can do most things on Office, and I would be able to say that. But at the same time, be honest. If you're not, by all means, put good level of experience or confident on all Office products. But do not put expert if you are not. But spend the time developing that. Strengths is more like your soft skills, is to consider, for example, like, are you patient? Are you caring? For example, you can't just learn overnight or over a small period of time how to be patient, how to be caring about someone. That's why nurses, for example, may do nursing, because they have that gene, they have that trait inside them from a young age. If you went into a job where you weren't patient, straight into a nurse, and you just were like, why are the people not doing what I'm telling them? Why is this happening? Why am I here? It's like, you clearly chose the wrong job. So spend that time looking through the relevant job descriptions and find what skills, what strengths they're always talking about. And these qualities will describe you. If you're really struggling on how to do this, ask your friends and family, how would you describe me as a person? And if you are really, really struggling, there's a course called, I think it's Find Your Career Goals. Do have a look at this course. It's a course available with the Google Digital Garage. And it essentially goes through, what are your strengths and what are your skills? What is it you want to do with your career? So do have a look at this. Once you understand your skills and strengths, and you've got these written down, again, do that circle, skills. What is it you can do? HTML, Office, I don't know, building a laptop, whatever it is you can do, then elaborate what you can do inside them. And then spend that time building these mind maps so you can just reference this really quickly to make unique CVs each time that you actually do this. So spend this time on this section. Understand what it is for your skills and strengths so that you can literally list them as accurately as possible and align it, please align it to the job description. So showcase your soft skills. So if you have got soft skills like sort of patience or you really caring, making sure you're highlighting these. These could be roughly mentioned in your job description. They could be mentioned inside a section for skills. Again, when we're looking at digital skills, make sure you're doing these. If you've got hard skills that you haven't got right now, like coding or whatever, look it up online. Find something that you could add yourself to these. Because all of a sudden, this now means that you can learn things that you don't have. And it might be short-term goals. Make all of these, what are they called? Make all of these, what I've just mentioned for the last 5 minutes. Brainstorming. Make all of these spider diagrams and get them all done in the next week. Short-term to medium goal. Look at job descriptions and align some of those up. Short-term to medium goal. Let's get a basic CV together. Then find out what you don't have in that area of expertise. Now, spend some time researching the hard skills. And now let's spend the next month building some of those skills, the next 2 weeks. So that now when we relook at this in 4 weeks, in 6 weeks, we can now start to fill in these skills with confidence. So that when you get to that CV and they ask you about Office, you can say, I've built multiple templates online. At the local community centre, I've redone all of their templates, rebranded them, and made them far more functional. This took me a few weeks to do, but I have done with over 40 different templates, and I've got some amazing feedback. Boom. 4 weeks ago, you said, I'm okay with Office. I've not touched it since school. So spend the time doing this. And when it comes to digital skills, have a look at our other courses with this as well. We have got a lot of content that's perfect for this. So when we're thinking about soft skills, leadership, teamwork, communication, not everybody has these. So if you have got these, look them up. Google soft skills and find a list of skills that you can put forward that match those job descriptions. Hard skills, if you haven't got them, spend some time getting them. How long will it take you to get these? Digital skills, coding, video editing, social media. Again, this is the sort of time when you can research this, decide which path you want to go down the route of. Examples of skills could be teamwork, project management, leadership, networking, complex logistics, graphic design. There's going to be a whole plethora of different skill sets right now watching this presentation. Think which one of these is something you want to go down the route of. And remember, do have a look at that Find Your Career Goals. It's an amazing course that literally helps you work out where you want to go. If you're at a dead end right now and you're just doing something to churn over cash, fair play, everyone has to do that. But do you have an aspiration? Do you have that Northern Star? Or are you going to go past the Northern Star and go for your own galaxy? Don't just sit on what you could have, like literally find what you want. And this is the main thing that we're trying to drive here is people can go to where they want to go, just spend the time doing it. So defining your strengths, what are you good at? Write this question down. What do you like doing? Write this down. What makes you stand out? Write this down. Now ask this same question to other people. And you'll work out, well, enthusiastic, you're caring, you're dynamic thinking, you always help solve problems. And you're like, do I? So ask these questions to people. Build a list of your strengths. You've got a list here. Start to think outside of this. Do some Googling. Enthusiastic, driven, analytical, caring. Start writing down what you think you are. Ask other people to maybe think what you are as well. And bring these all together. So showcase your experience. So we've now got all of this information together. But how can I best showcase this experience? Let's just take a few moments to discuss this. So first of all, what constitutes as experience? Internships. You've spent time somewhere learning and absorbing information at a place which is a professional place. Always worth showcasing. Work experience. Literally wouldn't be here without it. Find some. In an area that interests you. Don't just go, I'm going to go help at a youth club because Joe said. Well, what is it you want to do? I want to be a coder. Okay. Could you find a local coding school? Could you find after school clubs that do coding at primary, at secondary school? You might have to spend a bit of time communicating, Googling, messaging, ringing. But if you really want it, is it worth it? Part-time jobs that could do this as well. So think about jobs maybe that you could get involved in that might be able to just get you on the ladder, talking to people in this relevant area. Or if you've not got much work experience, a part-time job that demonstrates you're reliable, that demonstrates you turn up. Volunteering work, could not say anything big enough about it. Certificates and achievements, hobbies, extracurricular. Again, write all these down in these circles if you've got them and fill them out. Another precautionary tale about hobbies. We had a man come in once who was in charge of a dojo. He basically said that we have got a dojo. I've not got a lot of experience. I want to change my job. I'm currently working on a production line, but I don't know how I'm going to go somewhere else. I was like, all right, what experience do you have? He was like, well, I've done this for years. I've worked here, but I don't want to be in this. I was like, okay. So what other experience have you got? And he was like, well, I've got a hobby as a taekwondo, or I think it was karate even. And I was like, all right, well, what do you do? And he goes, oh, well, I run classes. I was like, oh, right, just yourself? Are you brought in? Oh, no, I run the school. I was like, wow. When running it, what do you mean? Well, for the last 15 years, I've run a dojo. I've got over 100, participants every month. We do the different levels. I'm also in charge of the grading and stuff like that. I was like, right. So you run a dojo. Do you do the money? Yeah, I do the money. I put it in the bank. We reinvest it back in the club. It's a massive community effort. So you run a dojo, you do the finances, you bring in new people, you do the advertising, you do the website, you do the social media, you're running a business. Well, it's not a business, it's voluntary. That is still a business. It might be a voluntary business. It might be a organization that helps locals. But again, spend time digging into these, because that person then started looking for jobs where it was a bit higher up the chain and used that knowledge and experience to demonstrate this and got a job. So just consider that nothing is irrelevant. Spend that time, and that time should be rewarded back to you. So reflect upon experience to date. So what did you do? What did you achieve? How does that role help? So that's what you always have to ask yourself. If that role is totally irrelevant to what you're applying for, less information. Focus on the roles that are definitely giving you that more information. If that role doesn't help the application you're going for, maybe talk less about that role or move it further down. If there's something more to be talked about, make it bigger. And when I say make it bigger, look at this, for example. If you've not got a lot of experience but lots of key skills, mix up your CV. Change the structure to demonstrate your best parts coming forward. For example, if you're coming out of secondary school, your experience, if you're not doing volunteer work or a paper round, is minimal. Even with that, is minimal. But your key skills could be massive because you've done loads of courses, you've done maybe a few programs in school, a bit of volunteer work in school, you've learnt things, you've done online courses rather than just going on FIFA all the time. But on the flip side, if you've been in a career for a while, have a bigger experience section because that's what you want to see. So there's no right or wrong answer when it comes to this. The only thing we need to consider is keep your CV condensed. Keep it clear to read. The one in the middle here, for example, someone spent a bit of time making this look nice, but at the end of the day, do I need to know you've got a GCSE A, Maths C, Geography C, Biology C if you're applying for a job as a manager when you're 26? Probably not. I might ask for English, Science, Maths. So just consider this. If you want stuff like this, do have a look at stuff, for example, where it's going to be clean, easy to read, professional. Have a look at Google Drive. They've got about 8 to 10 different CV templates. There's loads of CV templates online. Google CV templates. Find the one that suits you. So maximize your impact, write clear, concise manner, like I was talking about with that training. Be transparent about your gaps in your CV. If you've had a family break, own that. Had a family break. Patience, multitasking, all sorts of skills. Own that moment. Don't just say it's a family break. People have learned a lot from being in a family break. Own it. Get a second or third opinion. Get other people to read it. And just make sure that everything you do talk about is transparent and honest on there as well. So we've got a few questions come in. I attended Google Drive. I wondered, can I add to my CV and experience? No, you could certainly put it in there as if this is something you've got minimal training experience, you could then just put in there Google Digital Garage CV and cover letter attended. You could do, but what I'd maybe do is take that upper level and have a look at the Google Digital Garage qualifications and start ticking some of them because they're going to have actual impact. And some of them have also got open university ties. So it's an actual course qualification rather than just a webinar. By all means, you can include that. But as you get more and more into it and the more training you get, they're becoming more and more irrelevant versus the courses that you could do. So it's not to say you can't. I'm about to graduate and have not any experience or intern. I have some certificates, but think it's not sufficient. Would you give me some advice for those who have not much experience? If you've not got much experience, I would then get to the point of how can I line up experience? I would start looking at companies trying to find internships. If you can't, and maybe they're not available right now because it is a bit seasonal, it might be worth then looking at entry-level jobs to get you in a place. Again, if you've not got that experience, how can you get in there? Could you ask to do some shadowing? Could you ask to do some volunteer work in a local establishment, a local place, a local organization where you're going to get that experience? You've not specified what you're doing, but trying to think outside the box. Even just volunteer work, any work just gets you to show that you are doing it. And then straight away, you can then ask, could I be involved in a project that's more relevant to do in my experience so this can work for you and work for me? You're a professional, ask professional questions. Is it beneficial to tailor your CV to match the requirements of of the job? Yeah, 100%. If you just got a generic CV and you're sending it off and they've asked for HTML and Office and customer service, and you've just mentioned one of them, but it says essential, every single thing that's essential or desirable, you should highlight in green. Then look at your CV and go, is it on here? No. Now it's on here. That's now red. Now it's on here. That's now red. Tweak your stories, tweak your knowledge, tweak your CV so that every CV matches a job description, not just loosely links to it. If they're mentioning that they're a company that's driving forward with passion, our ethos is to develop and always learn. In the last 6 months, I've developed myself and done 15 different courses, totaling 45 hours, which is one of the reasons I believe I'd be perfect for this company. That could be something in the top of your section when you're doing your little bit of an introduction. Match every single thing you can with that CV. It should literally be a reflection of the job description, problem, question, your CV, answer, solution. Bring them together. Now you've made a CV that's going to make an impact. But please do it checked. A cover letter. So what is a cover letter? We're basically putting together a bit of an idea of what you're doing. And you're basically bringing together bits of your CV, but putting your best foot forward. So what we need to do with this is start thinking about, yes, it's time consuming, but what do I need to include? Why do I want to do this? 40% of recruiters say they look for a cover letter on application. 45% of recruiters say they lack a cover letter will result in the CV being rejected. Always add a cover letter, even if you're not sure. Spend that extra little bit of time doing it and that extra little bit of time making sure it's right. So here's the basic section breakdown of a cover letter. Hi, hello, dear. A nice, simple introduction. We do not need to worry too much about this. To whom it may concern, if you know the person, by all means, add that additional dear Joe or dear whoever it is that you've got the contact details of. Once you've gone past that, you then need to consider, well, what sort of introduction could I do? Who are they? I mean, who you are and what you're interested in, what job you're applying for, and where did you hear about us? So it could just literally be as simple as that. I have literally completed an apprenticeship and I found the junior analyst role for Joe's IT company on Indeed. It's just so they know where they're spending their money on to find out how people are finding them for jobs. Keep it concise, condensed information. It's basically for the attention of the hiring manager. What we're trying to do, this is what we're trying to get across. Summarizing this. So what's important to you? What are you good at? What do you enjoy? So this is a bit like your elevator pitch, but please don't just copy and paste it. This has to be a reflection of what it is that you enjoy in life, a reflection of things that are relevant to this job that you can talk about. The job description itself. So problem solution. If they're asking for someone with customer service skills, this is where you go, right? The job description says this, you've researched the company, you see challenges in the industry and your work and your professional skills for that job. So now you need to go, if they're looking for experience for, say, customer service, I have worked in the customer service industry for over 5 years and regularly get told that inpatient customers is your specialty because you always maintain a smile and they always leave happy. Perfect solution. You're literally demonstrating that I have been told, management have said. So what's the problem? You've straight away hit that on the head. Why are you good at solving that problem? Well, here's a little example that I'm always accredited for. So straight away, you need to think of, here's a problem that's sort of loosely mentioned in the job description. Now, how can I bring that problem forward to demonstrate why I am the person that's going to answer that problem? Your essentials, I'm going to hit 1 or 2 out of 3 of those essentials on the job description to explain why I am the person for this job. Spend this time here. Research challenges of the industry. What is it you could bring forward to this? Again, possible optional block. Could you just drop in a little bit of information about volunteering, achievement, skills that you have, hobbies that are relevant to this? And if you can do, a link to a website, maybe a LinkedIn profile. So a CV and a cover letter have this much information. But if they want to spend the extra little bit of time working out the difference between Joe and Joe, Joe has got a LinkedIn profile, he's got all his information, and he's selected individual bits of information to put onto this CV, while this Joe has just put a CV in. They put them next to each other. Well, which one should I choose? Let's dig in a little bit into this. I might have to Google this person, not finding information. This one has literally said, here's my LinkedIn profile. Here's my history of all my LinkedIn. Take it a stage further, a website, Google site with all of your history, with some videos, some projects, some feedback. All of a sudden, this demonstrates digital skills, demonstrates they're going to be looking for more information. So spend that time thinking how you can do something different. And then last of all, a cheeky sign off. So I am really honored to be considered for this position. I look forward to hearing from you. Please let me know if you would anything more information about me. So straight away, when you're doing this, we can now start to bring all of this together. So we bring in a portfolio of what the problem is to this role. You're literally saying, you're showcasing your solutions to their problems. You're dropping your skills in there. You're dropping these qualifications. If you've got 10 qualifications, only mention the ones that are relevant. If you've got 20 odd skills, pick the ones that are on the job description. The same with the actual experience as well. So let's bring this all together. Here's some examples. Dear Mrs. Webb, because we've got the name of the person, because you've applied for the job, you'll be applying for the job of whatever. Please send your CV and cover letter to this person. Amazing. Dear Mrs. Webb, possibly also find that Mrs. Webb on LinkedIn, so you're at the forefront of their brain. Cheeky little tip there. Then the introduction. I'm a customer assistant currently employed at Smarks. I'd like to apply for the sales advisor role at Shirts and Skirts. I heard about your job through seeing the position advertised on jobmarket.com. Simple, effective, short sentences, straight to the point, currently employed, applied for the sales advisor role, and I heard about your job at jobmarket.com. 2 sentences, not a lot of space in your CV when it's a full page, but you've introduced who you are and what it is you currently do and what it is you want. Summarizing yourself. I would describe myself as a friendly, helpful, and patient team member and take pride in offering a great level of customer service. I've been praised for the warm manner in which I deal with customers. So we're hoping here, what is this warm manner? I want to know more about this person. Let me put that in the yes pile. Then when we have this conversation, they could say, you describe yourself as friendly, helpful, and patient, and you've been praised for your warm manner to deal with customers. Could you elaborate on that? How did you do this? Who has told you this? Well, I've worked in the industry for so many years. I have a challenge I personally set myself where I always want to make sure the customer leaves smiling and happy. Even if I can't resolve that issue, I will make sure that they're happy with the outcome within the realms and rules and regulations of the company. All of a sudden, you've mentioned that you're getting praised. You're mentioning how your personal journey is to make sure of that. Problem, solution. The final little sparkle in that paragraph. You're just sprinkling that glitter on top. You want to make sure that you shine at the end of this. So an example now of problem versus solution rather than just a summary. I think I'd be a great fit, not a good fit, not an okay fit, a great fit. Big yourself up here for the role because I pride myself on being able to cope well under stress. I imagine the job description, it could be highly stressful role or deal with stress well, cope well under pressure. They're now bringing this to the problem solution. I have also worked part-time at Marquis while studying, and I'm used to dealing with a range of customers on a daily basis. So now what they're saying is, I don't just work at Marquis. I also study on the side, proving that I'm multitasking. Could even conceive that is quite stressful, doing 2 things at once, juggling, showing multitasking, showing knowledge, showing thirst for knowledge, showing that you want to progress. So all of a sudden, great fit, cope well under pressure, dealing with a range of customers on a daily basis. Even if you just read the headline points that are bolded, that's very good. But now what you're doing is you're bringing these problems and solutions together and you're making a nice condensed sentence that shows that you are the person for this job and why. Relevant achievements. In my spare time, I enjoy volunteering, not just volunteer, I enjoy volunteering at the local youth group in my village where I help to organize activities for the group. I am also taking a short part-time course on counseling as I love learning about human mind and improving my listening skills. So again, admitted a little bit of fallibility there, improving my listening skills. But what's great is he's literally saying, I am trying to expand my knowledge on how to understand humans better and improving my listening skills, my overall skills, and I am bringing this to your table. When I finish this course, have most people got a counseling qualification? Have most people demonstrated they want to learn more than just sitting there on the Xbox watching Netflix? I enjoy volunteering at my local village youth club. Who else does that? These 50 other people applying have just worked in retail. You're demonstrating you've got a part-time job, your education, you're also doing stuff outside of that, and you're bringing that to the table and your volunteer work. This person is an ideal candidate. They've spent that time bringing all this information forward in condensed sentences, using stuff like great fit, enjoy volunteer work. That could have been I do volunteer work, but enjoy just shows that extra little bit of sparkle. So do we have any questions for this section? None yet. But hopefully, remember, you can always go back to these sections and rewatch this video, use these as an example, do some swapping out, use this structure. But what's great is you've got a bit of an idea of things that you can do as you've gone along here. And then you've got a nice example of each bit as we broke down each section. And then the last section is get ready for your job search. So the things we have to consider here is the content you share, the pages that you follow, the posts that you are tagged in. The reason, sorry, people, the reason we have to consider this is because now the amount of people that look this up, the amount of people that will find this information. So, for example, 90% of recruiters will check your social media presence to learn more about you. Example of this was I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. I think it was a few years ago. There was a B-list celebrity who was on it, and he posted something years before, and I don't think he made the show in the end because of that post on Twitter. That's not to say if you cleaned it up, somebody else couldn't have taken a screenshot. But what I would recommend doing is spending that time before you're applying for jobs. I did this before I went to a school. I cleaned up my social media or made parts of it private that my life was on, and then made sure that my name wasn't linked to anything particularly bad. Spend that time doing that. Look at your social media. If you've got something that's a bit different, maybe something that is a bit edgy, could you maybe have a pseudonym? Could you have something that it's not your name associated to it that you can still do? But just consider if they find that, and maybe it's like in the customer service sector or it's in a big organization. If they find that bits of information where maybe you're talking about controversial content, you're talking about things very blasé, do they want their name associated to that? And that is the risk you run by leaving your social media unpruned. After employees, referrals, and company websites, social media is the most important recruiting tool. LinkedIn, for example, if you're not on it, get on it. I have got multiple contracts. My Google contract, which sort of gave me sort of the wings to fly on my on this job, doing this, all started by being on LinkedIn when I lost my old job as an IT technician. And without that, I would not have got a message saying, would you be available for a phone interview to discuss a role as a trainer for a large IT corporate IT organization? That was how big it was, all because of LinkedIn. So start to think, actually, are these things that I'm missing out on? Because if a third of employees use social media to find new recruits, are you in that third, or are you in the 2/3 that don't? Do you want to risk being in that third that do? That's 1/3, which means 1 in 3 jobs are using that as an active tool to find people and to check. And 90% of them will also check you out. So spend that time looking around, finding things that you're on. Create a compelling personal brand online. Reevaluate your social media. Create a LinkedIn profile. Join discussions and networks and groups and get engaged with them. Could you even start to create content? So if you're looking at, say, the education sector and you are a qualified teacher and you're applying for jobs at schools for, say, SEN, which is special educational needs, rather than just having a LinkedIn profile, if it's a genuine interest that you've been involved in, could you write some content about your views, about new policies that are coming out, about things that you've done in special educational needs outside the education sector that demonstrates you aren't just there to be paid. You're there because you enjoy working with this. This is your passion. So sharing this content gets engaged with other people in this sector that shows that, oh, you know this person at this place, this specialist over here, this person who's involved in the particular part of that sector that you're casually communicating with. But your content is being liked and engaged with by these, which shows that you aren't just a person who's saying, I like SEN, I enjoy working with them, and I feel it brings me a lot of love. But actually, that doesn't matter. What else have you got? You compare those two Joes again. This one's got all this content on LinkedIn. This one doesn't. Where are you going to go? So spend the time doing this. Write these down if you would. Reevaluate your social media, check LinkedIn, and join discussions and share content. Uncover a world of possibilities. So this is where we need to think big, dream big. Have a look at that course that I mentioned before. Find your career goals. If you want to go somewhere, shoot for the stars. Try and grab them. Don't just go, oh, I'll try and get in the outer solar system and I'm happy here. Sit there and think, actually, what do I want? Spend that time thinking what job would suit you down to a T. Work out pay versus reward versus time versus passion. And if you can find that nice little sweet spot, that's exactly what that course goes through. Identify trends that are going on. So, for example, 3D printing, digital skills, STEM skills, I think it's science, technology, and a few other bits and bobs around that. But consider what it is you want to go in. Research the roles and requirements of these roles. Don't just sit and go, I'm happy with this. If you're in a job that you're not enjoying, you can't just leave now. You can't just leave next week, possibly even next month, possibly even 2 months, depending on your contract. But you can start to plant the seeds, let them grow. Do your history on your social media, sort that out. Now, start laying your footprints in the sand of things you're going to do moving forward. Writing articles, get on LinkedIn, make your Facebook private, change your name marginally if you've got a life on there, or if it's marginally controversial. But make sure you clean this up. I say check yourself before you wreck yourself is my general consensus when it comes to digital. So research the roles and requirements and see what it is you can do to start ticking those boxes so that in the future, you're ready to go for these roles. So which tools can I use and look for these jobs? Is anybody here maybe got any tools, any websites that they use personally, some ideas? Feel free to share it among this forum because anything shared is anything learned. So we've got a few, for example. So, for example, search engines, amazing place, Google, Bing, Yahoo, to find the latest roles, to find the latest jobs, job websites. You'll probably go to Indeed. You might go onto job boards like Reeds or Total Jobs. But what's amazing about all of these is that these are jobs that you can find. You can even set alerts to be able to inform you about this. You've also got Google Jobs on search. So again, you can literally go to Google, type in Google Jobs, and it brings in all of these different search engines, all the different website content into one. So you can search them all and filter content to go, I need that much pay, I need that much part-time, full-time, I need it to be flexible, I need it to be this level of job. And now it gets rid of all the jobs that don't conform to those things. Again, you'll be able to do this on the job board, you'll be able to do this on the other sites, but you're reducing the time that you're spending looking for these jobs. But it's just amazing, this tool, because you've got a few more options for filters. So keep an eye out for key information. So daily tasks and responsibilities. Find out what you're expected to do in each job. Go through that job description, and if it says your daily roles or weekly roles may be X, Y, and Z, start writing these down. It's vital that you want a job that you are happy with day to day. If you've got tasks that you don't enjoy, you're going to that point now, the tipping point, where you can choose your jobs. It might be that in a few months, you might have to start compromising, a few weeks. But for example, one of my friends set themselves a role to go, he lost his job, unfortunately. And then he basically said he's going to give himself 2 months to get a new job. And he said, after 2 months, I'm going to just temporarily lower my personal needs and maybe conform to a few jobs. Luckily, 2 months and 4 days, he got a job, but a job doing something that he wanted to do and didn't have to start compromising. But look at the daily tasks and responsibilities. Is this something that you value? Is this something that you want to do? Because what I don't want you to do is start looking for jobs and going, I want that, I want that, I want that, get one, but you didn't spend that time looking at those particular responsibilities so that you enjoy it. Specific skills or experience required for the role. Let's start making different notes on different job descriptions at the top, at the bottom, so you can start to go, right, I love this job. I'll put it in that pile, download, save. Let me keep looking. Block out time to do this, then go through the job description to make your life easier and highlight those sections so you can go mentioned. And then maybe you have a master CV that you start copy and pasting bits from so you can make it even quicker to make these CVs. Commit to a personal development. Now spend that time to go, I can improve myself. What can I do to do this? Right. Every week, I'm going to spend 3 hours a week, and I could just stop watching Netflix for 3 hours and do a course on this. I could not go to the park and just walk around and play Pokemon Go. I could spend that hour doing a course or learning something new so that in the long run, you've got these different arrows ready to shoot or strings to your bow ready to shoot, whatever the analogy is. But it's that sort of process that you can start to look at now and build these skills. Commit to yourself. Salary and location, the same. So once you know what your minimum expectation for money is, what it is you can live off, what it is that you're currently at, you don't want to go down. You should always try and go up. By all means, take some side steps. And if it's horrendous where you are and you have to go down just to get out of it, all means, it's your decision, it's your life. But just consider, what is it you want to start at? What is it you want to go to? Feel free to negotiate that as well. I think I'm worth more than this. It says between these, they may offer you the lowest just because, but you're bringing that forward to them. Check different jobs and expectations around LinkedIn. Is it the one that you're going for is actually the lowest, but you love the idea of working there? Try and bring other examples forward so that if you do get offered a job, you could then say, I have looked around online and this is a bit lower than other areas or other businesses that are key areas and key businesses in the sector. Could we have a discussion about this? But without that research, you won't see these different job opportunities. You won't see how different businesses are doing this. Is the location ideal for you? Will they do, you have to go to the office to work? Like now, and a lot of other options about working from home. What works for you? The daily tasks, the specific skills, the commitment to your personal development, salary and location. Every single one of these is a different part of the star that you might have to work with. These could be 4 points around the star, and the fifth one might just be your decision. But you have to make sure these work for you, because you don't want to be in a job for 2 weeks. You want to be there for the long run. Every job, people argue, for example, you could do 2 years at every job. That's a good amount of time. And then you move up and you move up and you move up. But some jobs you can progress within them. But just start to think, if all of these is what you want, is this the right job for you? Put it in the box for yes. Start being picky. You might have 3 jobs there and 10 jobs there. Yes, no. But it's your life. It's your future. It's your development. Like I always say, aim for the stars. So choose a role that matches your values. What are your values? Which ones are most important to you? How can you find a job that has these values? Again, have a look at that. Build your career goals. This is an amazing example of all of this information together. A bit of self-reflection here. What are your values? Write this down. What is important? And for example, if your values are helping other people develop, educating others, it might be important to you, and doing something that's going to help other people, a trainer could be an exact example of this. But by writing these down, you can then start to search for jobs that are your values so that you're valuing your time you're spending at the workplace. You're valuing what you're doing and enjoying it. So you keep doing it. So you want to do it. So you want to get out of bed in the morning. Create your own plan for success. So specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. A SMART goal. So what we want to be able to do here is, I want to work in finance. Finance manager at a startup. Okay. I will achieve this when I receive a job offer. I am currently working at as a finance intern. I have the knowledge and skills required, and I want to have this achieved with a goal within 2 years' time. So that is, you've got the experience and it's got a timestamp. It could be you do loads of these. So it could be, I want to improve my digital marketing knowledge. This will help me achieve to get a new job. It's achievable because I've got a good bit of knowledge already, but I want to upgrade it. I've got a computer and I know I can do this, and it's time bound within 4 weeks. So it could be you do digital marketing courses for 4 weeks, office courses for 4 weeks. And if you don't do it, what's stopping you from getting there? Is it time? Okay, instead of doing 6 hours a week, I'm going to drop it to 3, but I'm always going to achieve that, and I'm going to double my time. But you achieve that in half the time again, because you've got a realistic expectation of the time you've got to do. Now set another goal. You can set multiple at once or not, but it's entirely up to you. So what are your career goals for the next year? Write that down. What is it you want to do? It could just be looking. It could be researching. Or I want a job in the next year. Now, what do you need to do to get there? Cool. So we've got a few questions that I should be able to rattle through. So we've got, how can we efficiently showcase our transferable skills and justify our previous experience when transitioning to a new career? So when you've done that little wheel and all the different information at the top, consider that every single one of those skills is probably related to something in the other job description. So customer care, you might not have worked in retail, but you've worked with higher up people. You've worked with different people solving their solutions. You've spent time and patience doing this. So the skills that you've got there, for example, as an IT technician, are transferable to there because you've got the skills. They're just not the exact skills that they're expecting you to have, but they're 100% transferable. So spend that time developing what you have and then problem solution. And then 100% you can find the links between them. I am not active in social media accounts, so would you recommend? Yeah. So if you're not active in social media, by all means, you don't have to be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. just do LinkedIn for now. And by all means, you don't have to do the rest, but LinkedIn just puts your best foot forward so you can be found. And is Google job search available everywhere? I am from Turkey. I can't find it in Google. I believe it is available from everywhere. I'm not existing in other countries, so I don't 100% know, but I believe it is. I have to say, just have to search it a bit more. I apologize if it's not. Either way, thank you everybody who has got on today. It's much appreciated. What are your next steps? Have a look at the goo.gul/career search to advance your knowledge. The link will appear inside the chat. Thank you so much today, Tessa, for getting involved. If you want to leave us some feedback, goo.gul/digital garage feedback would be much appreciated. Thank you, everybody, and have a good day. And thank you for getting involved and getting engaged. Have a good day, all.